now on Sunrise and streaming on crossroadstoday.com. Text messages obtained from the day of Trump's attempted assassination show what law enforcement officers knew minutes before the shooting. And severe weather is striking several parts of the country. How the West Coast weather could impact the East Coast, that's coming up. Plus, protesters across the country gathered to honor Sonia Massey, declaring a national day of mourning.
Well, for once, our radar is nice and clear this morning, which is bringing us a nice little break in the rain. In fact, our sky is going to be pretty clear like that for the rest of this week, except for the sunshine and some hazy Sahara dust. We'll take a look at that in the weather coming up.
The Generals wrapped up their season. I'll have all that and more in sports.
You're watching 25 News Now Sunrise. Good morning and thank you for joining us. I'm Carolina Astrain.
And I'm Parker Cox.
And I hope y'all had a great, restful weekend. I know I enjoyed staying indoors away from the rain.
Oh, did you? Yes, we did have a lot of rain, didn't we, Carolina?
But this week, lots of sunshine.
Yes, Carolina.
Gonna have to get back out there.
Yes, very good news, folks. In fact, I'm sure some of y'all are so tired of the rain. The good news is, Carolina just said it, the rain is pretty much all said and done. I do have a slight spotty chance as we're going to look at that in just a second, because right now it's another warm and average, beautiful summer morning out there, sitting in the upper 70s, 78 degrees. Dew point, though, matching the temperature of 78, bringing humidity to 100%. So it definitely is very humid out there. You're probably going to see maybe some dew on your windshield. Otherwise, I don't think you're going to see any fog because the air is warm and buoyant in the summertime. But otherwise, with the air plenty warm and buoyant, usually we would see some showers. And right now, there are just recently a couple showers that started developing. They're way out there along the Gulf, though. So I don't think they're going to come our way anytime soon, although they might start slowly heading a little bit more inland. Very, very spotty, though. But looking at your future radar for today, this computer model thought there was going to be showers earlier this morning. That's obviously not the case. But I do think as we go into the late morning, like around 11 a.m., maybe even 10 a.m., there might be a few spotty showers that start developing in the area. I don't think it's going to be as widespread as that, like you saw there. I got chances today and tomorrow at 20%. But I do think any showers that develop out there today will start dying down as we go into the evening, with maybe, like I said, like it has been the last week, a couple isolated showers starting along the immediate coast. It's coming a little bit more inland. But if you do see rain today, the good news is it's not going to be heavy, seeing totals up to maybe half an inch to 3/4 of an inch at best. But otherwise, behind the partly cloudy skies, decreasing to mostly sunny skies. All of us in the upper 80s and low 90s, but the humidity is still high. It's going to feel like as high as 105 to 107, so be careful with that. That weather's going to stick around that way for the rest of this week, and we're going to take a look at that and more later on Sunrise. Back to you, Carolina.
Thank you, Parker. Text messages show local law enforcement flagged former President Donald Trump's shooter more than 90 minutes before the rally. The New York Times says, citing evidence Senator Chuck Grassley obtained. The messages indicate a local sniper reported seeing someone park and sit on a nearby picnic table. They show local law enforcement took a photo of the person 30 minutes later, and he turned out to be the eventual shooter. One text message notes someone saw the suspect holding a rangefinder and looking toward the stage. Israel has retaliated on Lebanon following Saturday's soccer field strike, killing at least 12 people. The Israeli Defense Forces say they have hit 7 targets deep inside Lebanese territory on Sunday. The soccer field strike that killed mostly children and teenagers hit an Israeli-controlled town. Israel's strikes on Lebanon hit about 60 miles from the southern border with Israel, where hostilities have mostly been confined. The Israeli military has blamed the strike on Hezbollah, who has denied responsibility. Now to the latest on the extreme weather, including flash flooding in parts of the south and in the west. One of the fastest moving fires in recent memory. Smoke from fires burning in the western U.S. and Canada could impact air quality as far as New England.
Heavy rain in central and east Tennessee, triggering flash floods at Dollywood, the theme park co-owned by singer Dolly Parton. Walkways and parking lots underwater. But the bigger weather story today? Smoke from hundreds of fires burning across the West and in Canada, now spreading across the U.S. The effects could be felt as far as New England.
If you look up at the sky across much of the northern half of the country, you see evidence of that smoke. Hazy skies out there across much of the U.S. and Canada. 850 plus fires burning in Canada, 100 in the western U.S.
The explosive park fire in Northern California has grown into the biggest fire in the state this year, burning up to 5,000 acres per hour. Thousands of residents have evacuated.
We're doing the best we can to safely get them back.
Susan Singleton and her husband took shelter in their vehicle with their 7 dogs.
Whatever we had can be replaced, but I wouldn't have left the animals at all.
About 560 square miles have burned. The flames destroying at least 100 residential buildings. And the man allegedly responsible heads to court today. 42-year-old Ronnie Stout is accused of pushing this car down a hill while it was on fire, sparking what's now become the 7th biggest fire in California's history. The park fire is about 12% contained. Officials say it's being fueled by an abundance of vegetation and one of the hottest and driest summers on record in that area. Allison Cossack, ABC News, New York.
Breaking overnight, Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro and his political opponents both claim to have won the presidential election. Now the U.S. and multiple regional nations are voicing skepticism about the official results, handing a victory to Maduro. With 80% of votes counted, Maduro, Venezuela's current president, won more than 51% of the vote, besting the Democratic Unitary Platform candidate Edmundo González Urrutia, who gained more than 44% of votes. If Maduro takes office, it will be for a third consecutive 6-year term. On Sunday, many declared a national day of mourning for Sonia Massey. Protesters across the country gathered to honor Massey. Mourners from New York to Atlanta gathered to remember her with vigils and prayers, leading the call for justice. Sonia Massey, an unarmed black woman killed in her own home, called 911 for help earlier this month. She was shot and killed by an Illinois sheriff deputy with a record of allegations of misconduct on the job. He has since been charged from Massey's fatal shooting and fired from the police force. In a memo released by the vice president's campaign, the campaign has raised $200 million since President Joe Biden dropped out of the race and endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris. 66% of those donations coming from first-time donors. Harris entered the race just a week ago when President Joe Biden announced he would no longer run for office last Sunday. The move came after several calls from Democrats urging the president to step down. We'll go to Washington for more later. And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. The time is now, let's get a look at our clock. It is 6:38 on our Monday morning. Here's a look at what's coming up on 25 News Now Sunrise. The Olympics continue in Paris and the U.S. leads in medals. Learn how many sports were included in the games.
We are officially less than 100 days from the November election, and both Republicans and Democrats are hitting the campaign trail hard. I'm Christiana Cordero with the latest from Washington.
And also coming up after the break, we're going to take a look at your weather and health forecast, followed by your marine forecast. Later on Sunrise, we're going to take another look at that Sahara dust and the tropics. Well, good morning, Crossroads. If you're tuning in with us this morning, you're looking live in Cuero, where it is still warm and humid out there, sitting at 80 right now. Dew point at 79, though, 1 degree off, bringing your humidity to 97%. So definitely it's plenty humid out there. You're going to, like I said, see maybe some dew on your windshield. Don't think any fog, though. That's the good news for today. But other good, sort of good news is we're only going to be in the low 90s for some. Some of us also going to be in the upper 80s, which is good news because we're not in the hundreds at this time of the year, which we usually are. But it is also going to be very humid out there with your heat index up to 105 to 107 for some. So please be careful with that humidity being so high. But otherwise, good news is pollen is going to be nice and low all across the board. Air quality, that's going to be moderate today. And your UV index, that's going to be extreme today. So if you have some sensitive skin, make sure to put on some sunscreen for today. And if you're also going to the beach, put on some sunscreen because it's not going to be too bad of a day to go out there. Wind's going to be nice and a little bit breezy, between 10 to 15 knots, gusting up to 20, making your waves slightly choppy between 1 to 2 feet. But our weather's going to be pretty consistent like that for the rest of this week, just very slowly warming up. And we're going to take a look at the tropics and the Sahara dust coming up in just a few moments. And now here's sports with Ray.
The Generals had their final game of the season, but before they did, they had an award ceremony to recognize some familiar faces. Hal Perez being the General of the Year, and Travis Bragg having an all-around impressive season. He currently leads the Texas Collegiate League with a batting average of .370. The Generals were off to a strong start at the opening of the game. The Generals beginning the game on the outfield, and within the first couple plays of the game, they already had 3 outs. Bottom of the second inning, Cameron Nickens delivers with an RBI, all while Anthony Avalos steals the third base. And the momentum remained the same throughout the game. Generals erupting for 4 runs in the 6th inning, and that pretty much did it. The Generals completing the sweep, final score 7-2. And I'm Ray Robinson, and that was your 25 News Now Sports.
Thank you, Ray. All right, we want to invite y'all to experience our digital streaming service, Crossroads Today Plus. You can find it on your connected TV through Amazon Fire TV, Roku, Apple TV, or Android TV. Just search for Crossroads Today Plus. There are less than 100 days to go in the race for the White House. Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump each spent the weekend on the campaign trail, just 1 week after Joe Biden dropped out of the race.
This morning, despite the party's support and record-breaking donations, more than $200 million raised since entering the race, likely Democratic presidential nominee Vice President Kamala Harris considers herself an underdog.
We're the underdogs in this race. But this is a people-powered campaign, and we have momentum.
The VP rallied support from donors in Massachusetts over the weekend. In Minnesota, former President Donald Trump continued his attacks on President Biden before turning to his new opponent.
They took him out of the fight and they put a new fighter. We have a new victim now, Kamala.
But these remarks from Trump got the most attention.
You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
Democrats claim that comment was a threat to democracy. Congressional Republicans also sharpening their attacks on Harris.
There is no liberal horse that she has chosen not to ride. She sponsored the Green New Deal and Medicare for all.
While claiming Harris is soft on crime policies, but the Biden administration now touting its record on crime, claiming record declines over the first half of this year, including in homicides and vehicle thefts across more than 40 cities.
Trying to make people think that crime is up when crime is down under Joe Biden and crime was up under Donald Trump. Now, I don't know how often that gets reported on this network, so if you're watching this at home, do yourself a favor and look up the data.
A new ABC News Ipsos poll shows a jump in favorability for Harris, now at 43% overall compared to 35% just 1 week ago. And among independents, Harris at 44% compared to 28% a week ago. Christiane Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
And that leads us to your viewer poll. Today we want to know, have you ever been to a campaign event? Okay, let's take a look. 28% of you say yes and 72% of you say no. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part in our viewer poll. As the Olympics continue in Paris and the U.S. leads in medals, a 600-foot tall luxury condo tower, Paramount Miami World Center, is lit up to honor the athletes competing in the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris. A 300-foot wide moving image shows a montage of athletes representing the 32 sports played during the Games. It will be illuminated several times each night through August 11th, when the Games conclude. The time is now 6:45 on our Monday morning. Still to come, learn how many early dementia cases can be detected with a new combination of tests. Okay, time to celebrate some birthdays. Happy birthday to Quentin. Want to wish a happy 14th birthday to my son Quentin. We love you very much, Grandma and Grandpa, Mom, also aunts and uncles and cousins too.
Happy birthday, Quentin. And happy birthday to Jordan. A big happy 16th birthday to Jordan Ryan Tanya from her mom, dad, brothers, grandparents, also her uncles and aunts. All her family love her so much.
And happy 47th birthday to Amanda. Happy birthday from your favorite son, Hayden.
Happy birthday, Amanda. And happy birthday to American singer and songwriter Martina McBride. She's turned 58 today.
And we're celebrating an anniversary. Happy 41st anniversary to Jimmy and Josie Nunez.
Oh, happy anniversary, y'all. And a big happy birthday to Victoria's own brother, Gary Moses. We love you, Gary.
Yes, Gary. I love seeing you out on assignment, out on the town. Gary, always such a great member of our community.
And a great friend. Happy birthday, Gary. And to see your birthday wish live on 25 News Now Sunrise, come to crossroadstoday.com, click the drop-down menu and click on Home, and you'll see Submit Your Birthday Photo.
All right, the time is now 6:46 on our Monday morning. Happy birthday if you're celebrating one today.
That's right, happy birthday. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Well, good morning, Crossroads. I hope y'all loved all that rain we had last week, because we had a lot of it. I'm sure I'm actually going to tell you later on Sunrise what those rainfall totals were. But yesterday we got up to 90 degrees, and we did see a solid ½ inch of rain reported at the airport here in Victoria. But we're 6 degrees under our average and 13 below our record set in 1912. But our weather's going to be pretty similar for the rest of this week, actually staying consistent in the low 90s. I'm thinking here in Victoria. Some might be in the mid 90s, but otherwise rain chances going to be looking pretty slim for the rest of this week as high pressure returns. Today and tomorrow, though, I do have a spotty chance for showers at 20% for both days. But why we're not really seeing a good shot in any more rain coming away this week is because the Saharan dust is now taking part in both the Atlantic tropics and also in our rain and also all of our weather, actually, because what's going on right now is there's a gigantic plume of Saharan dust that's right over the northern Caribbean, and that's going to be heading our way into the Crossroads probably sometime Wednesday and Thursday when it's going to be at its most, but also Tuesday and Friday could still be a little bit hazy as well. But currently in the tropics, so look at that computer worked for me, the Audacity this time. So we do have two tropical waves right now. There's a westerly one and also an easterly one. The National Hurricane Center is watching this westerly one. They've got a 50% chance of tropical formation within a week, but I am watching the easterly one because this one is supposed to consume the westerly one and move all the way into the northern Caribbean. The good news is I don't think it's going to come our way. It looks to be heading closer toward Florida, but we're going to look at that and more later on Sunrise.
We turn now to what's being called a miraculous rescue at sea. We're hearing from two divers who survived nearly 40 hours stranded off the coast of Texas.
This morning, a couple from Oklahoma opening up about the scuba diving disaster that nearly killed them.
I was swimming with everything I had to get her back to the line. And we got her to the line, and I just was within arm's reach. I just couldn't get it.
Nathan and Kim Maker were diving with a group off the Texas coast when bad weather hit.
The rain was so hard that you couldn't see outside, and the winds were just atrocious. The waves were atrocious.
The rough water knocking another diver off the guideline. Nathan instantly diving down to help. Amid the confusion, Nathan and Kim, both experienced divers, were swept away from their group and their boat. The Coast Guard launched a full search within hours of their disappearance. The couple saying they could hear the planes overhead as they tried to stay warm.
Because our body temperatures were dropping, we needed to keep swimming or we probably would have frozen to death. So he made it into a game and he was, 1, 2, 3 amigos, and we would kick for a little while.
After nearly 2 full days at sea, Nathan and Kim were finally spotted bobbing in the water, signaling SOS with their flashlights. They had spent 38 hours waiting to be rescued. Nathan, who's diabetic, was dangerously close to slipping into a coma. Andrea Fujii, ABC News, New York.
It could be a new stage in the fight against Alzheimer's. A new study says a combination of 2 simple blood tests can catch 90% of early dementia cases. In comparison, dementia specialists using standard methods were accurate 73% of the time. Primary care doctors using those methods had a 61% accuracy rate. Researchers say the findings could lead to a blood test that can be used in a primary care physician's office, much like a cholesterol test, but for Alzheimer's. Still to come on Sunrise, news to know before you go, where the body of a child was found and when he was last seen. The body of a nonverbal child was found at a park in Maryland on Sunday. Police say 6-year-old Fazan Hassan was last seen at a park at around 3 p.m. on Saturday. The boy's body was found in a nearby pond by members of the community. Police roped off the area and confirmed that it was Hassan. Initially, crews said they searched the pond but were unsuccessful in locating the child. They chose not to use dive teams because of snapping turtles in the water. An autopsy will be performed to determine the cause of the death. Former Trump White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows is asking the Supreme Court to move the Georgia election subversion case against him to another court. Meadows' lawyers say they asked justices this weekend to move the case from state to federal court where they could argue immunity from these charges. The move comes after the high court's ruling giving former President Donald Trump some immunity in the federal election subversion prosecution. The issue is not expected to be resolved before the presidential election. President Biden heads to Houston today to pay his respects to the family of late Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Jackson Lee served in Congress for nearly 30 years. She died July 19th after losing her battle with pancreatic cancer. Jackson Lee, the longest-serving member of the Texas congressional delegation, was known for being an outspoken advocate for civil rights and progression. The president will also travel to Austin today to mark the 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act. Republican vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance says Democrats are taking his childless cat lady's comments out of context. He tells Fox News he meant them as a quip and a way of conveying he's pro-family. The comments are from a 2021 Fox interview in which he said a bunch of childless cat ladies were running the country. In the video, he argues people without children don't have a stake in the country's future. And he names Vice President Kamala Harris, who is a stepmother, and Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, who adopted a month later. A 23-year-old Port Lavaca man heads to trial today on murder charges. Blake Downs is accused of shooting 19-year-old Cohen Berm at Downs' house on Holloman Road in Port Lavaca on April of 2022. The trial starts at 9 a.m. today. Authorities say both the victim and the suspect were intoxicated at the time. The FCC voted last Thursday to approve regulations to take effect next year that caps the price of inmate phone and video calls at prices as low as 5 cents per minute. You can read this story by the Texas Tribune on our website, crosswordstoday.com. And we want to invite you to experience our digital streaming service, Crosswords Today Plus. You can find it on your connected TV through Amazon Fire TV, Roku, Apple TV, Android TV. Just search for Crosswords Today Plus. And the heat is back on today as we welcome a beautiful sunrise there in Port Lavaca. And Parker, it's about to get hot.
Yes, in fact, yes, look at that. The sun is coming back out. The clouds are going away. The rain is mostly going away. And the heat is coming back, unfortunately, but the humidity is also going to stay. Right now, it's already plenty warm and humid out there in Port Lavaca, 81, dew point 79, very wet, bringing humidity to 94%. But our dew points are going to stay like that. We just saw, like right there, during the daytime. So it's going to feel a little hot today, and also for the rest of this week as well. But you just saw there on Port Lavaca camera, a little bit cloudy out there this morning. And I do think whatever clouds are out there right now will slowly start decreasing as we go into the afternoon and for the rest of this week. And that's going to bring highs all across Texas in the hundreds, but up there in Kansas, they could be up at 109, but not here in Victoria. I'm thinking about 91 today with that weather pretty much like that, staying consistent like that for the rest of this week. Rain chances pretty low, humidity sticking around, and the hazy Saharan dust returning midweek.
As long as we're staying below those hundreds,
yes.
Parker, I can deal with the heat.
I was going to say, if you remember this time last year, we were starting our 26th day of 100 plus.
Yes, so maybe in 2 weeks or so, bring that rain back.
That's right.
All right, well, thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful start to your week. Remember, follow us on our YouTube channel and join Karina, Dawn, Mac, and Max today for 25 News Now at 5, 6, and 10.